Imagine this. You're standing in your grandmother's living room the day after her funeral, the smell of lilies still heavy in the air, when your cousin looks every single person in the eye and says, calm as anything, "Everything here is mine now. Grandma promised it to me years ago. The house, the savings, the jewelry, everything." The room freezes. I'm Sarah Thompson, 32, and that was me she was talking about, standing there in the same black dress I'd worn to say goodbye to the woman who basically raised me. My mouth went dry. My heart slammed against my ribs. Because Jessica wasn't whispering this to one person. She said it loud enough for the whole family to hear. And the worst part? A couple of aunts actually nodded like they believed her. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Let me take you back just a little. My grandmother, Evelyn Harper, was 87 when she passed. She lived in the same modest two-story house in the suburbs for 53 years, paid off, beautiful hardwood floors, a garden she tended until the very end. Inside those walls, she raised me after my parents' messy divorce. Every Sunday, we baked shortbread cookies. Every evening, she told me stories about the war, about love, about how quiet strength beats loud bragging every single time. She called me her anchor. I called her home. Jessica? Jessica Harper, 35, my first cousin. Real estate agent with a perfect Instagram grid, always showing up for Christmas with expensive wine she expected everyone to praise. She visited Grandma maybe 4 times in the last 5 years, each visit shorter than the last, each one ending with a request for a little help with the mortgage this month. Grandma always gave, quietly, without lectures. But the week before she died, Grandma pulled me close, pressed her thin fingers into mine, and whispered, "Sarah, fair is fair. You'll see." So when Jessica stood in that living room claiming the entire estate, roughly $750,000 between the house and accounts, I felt the ground tilt. Because I knew something she didn't seem to remember. Grandma hated promises made under pressure. And she hated greed even more. The family murmured. Someone coughed. Jessica crossed her arms, chin high, like she'd already won. Then the front door opened. Mr. Reynolds, Grandma's lawyer for 30 years, stepped inside carrying a slim leather folder and one plain white envelope sealed with red wax. He looked straight at Jessica, then at me, and said 5 words that changed the temperature in the room. Before we read anything official, Evelyn left a letter. And she gave very clear instructions. Open it only after any claims have been made. Jessica laughed, short, sharp, confident. "Go ahead," she said. "Open it. It'll just prove I'm right." Mr. Reynolds slid his thumb under the seal. And that's when I realized my grandmother had been playing chess while the rest of us were still figuring out checkers. What was in that letter? Jessica actually laughed when Mr. Reynolds said there was a letter. A short, sharp bark, like she'd already pictured this scene ending with her holding the keys to Grandma's house. "She always loved drama," Jessica said, rolling her eyes toward the ceiling. "Go on then. Read it. Let's get this over with, so we can start sorting what's mine." I stood frozen near the fireplace, arms wrapped around myself, like that could keep my heart from jumping out. Everyone else shifted uncomfortably on the old floral sofa and dining chairs we'd dragged in from the kitchen. Aunt Linda dabbed her eyes. Uncle Mark, Jessica's dad, stared at his shoes. My other cousins exchanged glances that said, "This is awkward, but maybe she's right." Let me paint the picture clearer. Growing up, Grandma Evelyn was my world after Mom and Dad split when I was 9. She taught me how to knead dough without overworking it, how to prune roses so they'd bloom harder next year, how to spot a liar by the way they wouldn't meet your eyes. Jessica? She was the golden child from the other branch of the family, 5 years older, always arriving with stories of big commissions and new handbags. Grandma spoiled her with cash gifts and just because checks, but Jessica never stayed longer than an afternoon. Never helped with medications. Never sat through the long nights when Grandma couldn't breathe. Yet here she was, listing items like she'd already inventoried them. "The antique pearl necklace goes to me. Grandma said so last Christmas. The silver tea set too. And obviously the house." She told me, straight up, "Jess, When I'm gone, this place is yours. Sarah's got her little freelance thing. She'll be fine. A couple of heads nodded slowly. That hurt more than the words. I finally found my voice. Quiet. Steady. The way Grandma taught me. Jessica, when exactly did she say that? Because the last few months, she could barely hold a phone, let alone make big promises. Jessica's smile tightened. Months ago. Years ago. Does it matter? She meant it. That's when I noticed it, the tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth. The same twitch she got as a teenager when she'd sneak extra cookies and swear she hadn't. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat again. Actually, he said, Evelyn updated her 6 months ago. Right after Jessica's last visit, the one where she stayed less than 20 minutes. Jessica's face changed. Not much. Just a flicker. But I saw it. She couldn't have, Jessica snapped. She was confused by then. Mr. Reynolds didn't flinch. She was sharp enough to record a video statement. And sharp enough to write this letter.
He tapped the envelope.
She said it explains everything. And she wanted it read to the whole family, together. He slid his letter opener under the red wax seal with a soft crack. Jessica leaned forward, still smiling, but her knuckles were white around her phone. The lawyer unfolded the single sheet of cream stationery. And just like that, the air in the room felt thinner. Because the first line he read aloud was, My dearest family, if someone is already claiming what isn't theirs, then you need to hear this next part very carefully. The lawyer's voice cut through the silence like a knife. My dearest family, if someone is already claiming what isn't theirs, then you need to hear this next part very carefully. Jessica's confident smile froze mid-breath. I swear the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Everyone leaned forward at the same time. Mr. Reynolds kept reading, calm and steady, the way only a man who's delivered 1,000 bad news envelopes can. 6 months ago, Jessica came to see me. She sat right here in this chair and told me the house, the savings, everything should go to her. She said I owed her. She even tried to get me to sign a new document she'd already prepared. When I refused, she raised her voice and said, You'll regret this when you're gone, and Sarah wastes it all on her silly drawings. Gasps rippled across the room. Aunt Linda's hand flew to her mouth. Uncle Mark turned beet red. The letter continued. I recorded that conversation. Mr. Reynolds has the file. Because I knew then what kind of heart I was dealing with. Jessica shot up from her chair. That's a lie. I never. Mr. Reynolds lifted one finger. Just one. And she actually sat back down. He reached into his folder, pulled out a small USB drive, and plugged it into the old TV Grandma used to watch her soap operas on. The screen flickered to life. There was Evelyn, frail, oxygen tube in her nose, but eyes sharp as ever, looking straight into the camera she'd asked her nurse to set up. Jessica came here on July 12th, Evelyn said, voice thin but clear. She told me Sarah doesn't deserve anything, because she's not ambitious. She said if I didn't leave it all to her, she'd make sure the family turned against me. She even brought papers she wanted me to sign. I pretended to be confused, so she'd leave. But I wasn't confused. I was disgusted. The video ended. The room was dead silent except for the ticking grandfather clock. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Not sadness anymore, something hotter. Validation. Like Grandma had reached through time and wrapped her arms around me one last time. Jessica's face had gone the color of old paper.
She was sick, she spat.
That doesn't count. I'll fight this. I'll get my own lawyer. That house is mine, she promised. Mr. Reynolds closed the folder with a soft snap. Actually, Evelyn left one final instruction in this letter. For Sarah alone. But first, I need to read the official will. He pulled out a thicker document, the real one, the one dated 6 months ago. Jessica lunged forward, hand outstretched. No, read it now. Whatever's in that private letter is probably fake too. Mr. Reynolds looked at me, not at her. Sarah, he said quietly, this next part is only for you. But before I hand it over, the will itself changes everything. He began to read the opening line. And I swear, in that moment, I heard my grandmother laughing softly somewhere in the house she loved so much. Mr. Reynolds didn't even raise his voice. He just started reading the will like he was reading a bedtime story. Last will and testament of Evelyn Harper. I, being of sound mind, hereby leave my entire estate, house, savings, investments, jewelry, everything, to my granddaughter Sarah Thompson. The words landed like a hammer. Jessica made a sound I've never heard a human make before. Half scream, half laugh. You're joking. This is a joke, right? Mr. Reynolds kept going, calm as ever. To my other granddaughter Jessica Harper, I leave the sum of $1. One single dollar. To remind her that greed costs more than money ever could. The room exploded. Aunt Linda gasped so loud, she nearly choked. Uncle Mark stood up, so fast his chair tipped over. My other cousins just stared, mouths open, like they'd walked into the wrong movie. Jessica's face twisted. All the fake sweetness from earlier?
Gone.
This is bullshit. She was old, she was sick, she didn't know what she was doing. I'm contesting this.
Right now. Today.
That house is mine, she told me. She actually reached for the will like she was going to rip it out of the lawyer's hands. Mr. Reynolds simply lifted the document higher and said, Evelyn anticipated that. That's why she recorded the video you just saw. That's why she had 2 witnesses and a notary. That's why this will is ironclad. I couldn't move. My legs felt like water. $750,000. The house where I learned to ride a bike in the backyard. The savings account Grandma secretly added to every birthday. All of it mine? Jessica spun toward me, eyes blazing. You did this. You turned her against me. You and your little I'm always here act. Pathetic. She grabbed her designer purse, knocking over a glass of water on the coffee table, and stormed toward the door. You'll hear from my lawyer by Monday. Enjoy your stolen house, Sarah. The front door slammed so hard the framed photos on the wall rattled. For 3 full seconds, nobody spoke. Then Mr. Reynolds turned to me, his voice softer now. Sarah, she left you something private. He handed me the second envelope, the one sealed just for me. My hands shook as I broke the wax. Inside was a single sheet in Grandma's elegant handwriting and a small silver key. I read it out loud, voice cracking. Sarah, my quiet strength. If you're reading this, Jessica tried to take everything. I saw it coming months ago. I changed the will in secret because you never asked for a thing. You gave me your time, your love, your weekends. That's worth more than any house. The key is to the safe deposit box, extra 100,000 in bonds. Use it to build something beautiful. And know I'm proud of you every single day. Tears rolled down my cheeks. Real ones. The kind that come from somewhere deeper than sadness. Mr. Reynolds placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. There's one more thing Evelyn arranged right after this. Mr. Reynolds lowered his voice, so only I could hear him over the stunned silence, still hanging in the room. Sarah, your grandmother arranged for one final thing. She wanted you to have the house keys today, not next week, not after probate. She said, give them to my girl right away so she knows it's really hers. He reached into his briefcase and placed the familiar brass key ring in my palm, the one with the tiny silver heart charm Grandma had attached when I was 12. The metal was still warm from his hand. I closed my fingers around it and felt the dam finally break. Not loud sobs. Just quiet, steady tears that came from somewhere so deep I didn't know they were still there. Relief. Justice.
Love.
All of it crashing over me at once. Everything made sense now. Grandma hadn't been confused or forgetful. She'd been protecting what mattered most. She'd seen Jessica's visits for what they were, calculated moves, and she'd quietly built her defense. The updated will, the video, the recorded conversation, the sealed letter. Every piece legal, every piece witnessed, every piece ironclad. Jessica's verbal promise story? Fabricated. Her confidence? Built on lies she thought no one would challenge. Jessica did try to contest it. She hired a lawyer the very next week, filed papers claiming undue influence and lack of capacity. But the evidence was overwhelming. The video played in mediation. The nurse who witnessed the will signing testified. The recording of Jessica's angry visit surfaced. Within 2 months, she dropped the case. Quietly, humiliated, after her own attorney told her she'd lose and probably owe court costs. Word spread fast in our small family circle, then in her real estate network. Clients started quietly pulling away. Last I heard, she'd moved to another city, started over somewhere new.
We haven't spoken since that day.
The rest of the family? Most came around quickly. Uncle Mark apologized through tears on my porch a week later. Aunt Linda brought shortbread cookies, the recipe Grandma taught us both, and we cried together in the kitchen. A few cousins who nodded along with Jessica at first sent awkward texts. Some stayed distant. That's okay. Grandma always said family isn't just blood, it's who shows up. 6 months later, I still live in the house. I turned the spare bedroom into a proper art studio. Bright windows, shelves of paint, the smell of linseed oil instead of hospital antiseptic. The garden blooms the way she taught me. Every Sunday, I bake shortbread and set an extra place at the table, just in case she wants to join. I wear her locket every day. Inside is a tiny photo of us laughing on the porch swing. She didn't just leave me money or a house. She left proof that quiet love wins. That showing up matters more than showing off. That one sealed letter can rewrite an entire story. And every night when I lock the front door, I whisper the same thing. Thanks, Grandma. I'm still here. And I'm still your quiet strength. The light in the hallway stays on, just like she always left it.